What's up? We back once again. I am BLITZKRIEG.
I am the MarXman.
And this is
Aiight,
So Boom. Bringing you all your information and little tidbits in, nerd culture, mostly Marvel.
Oh yeah, right now they're holding it down. If anybody else holds it down, we'll be free to cover them too.
Yeah.
But right now, Disney Plus is really serving out the content as far as continuous, consistent stories. So
for sure. But before we get into that, make sure you subscribe to the channel.
Yes.
Make sure you follow both of us on Instagram, Twitter, all those things.
Everything.
Make sure you like and comment. And yeah, man, Marvel has been really kicking butt in terms of the content. I was watching last night was all of the outtakes from Shang-Chi. Did you see them?
No, I haven't.
It's quite a few, and a few of them kind of changed the story a little bit.
I saw a deleted scene where what's his name?
Yeah, Razor Fist.
Razor Fist dies. Mm-hmm. That's the one you sent me that actually.
Yeah.
That's the only one I saw.
It's like 16 minutes of deleted scenes or things that they might have changed. Mm-hmm. One is where Wen Wu has the kid sitting at the dinner table and he's telling them about how he became the Mandarin and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And Razor Fist is actually at the table. I don't know if he was in the movie. I don't remember that.
I don't think he was.
No, I don't think he was. But he's telling how he went to Romania and he saw this kid juggling with one hand, and he adopted him. So he's supposed to be Wen Wu's adopted son almost in the movie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It seems like they had alternate plans for Razor Fist in particular. Mm-hmm. Like they wanted to make him a bigger character.
There were more things. I can't remember them all. The end scene when the sister is talking to when he comes in
at the end,
and he comes and gets her. She's actually FaceTiming with Shang-Chi and Katie. Is that her name?
Yeah.
Katie. Yeah, she's FaceTiming with them. She's sitting on the bed chilling, and then he comes and gets them. So it seems like it's
an interesting transition.
Yeah. Another one is when Katie first meets Shang-Chi's sister. I'm sorry, I can never remember her name in the movie. Mm-hmm. But they have this conversation about how their feelings for each other, Katie and Shang-Chi, and how she doesn't want to complicate things because she doesn't want to mess up their friendship. So when we watch the movie, right, we look at them and it's like, look, they're just platonic friends that but there is supposed to be this this little glimmer of like they like each other, but they won't go for it.
It'll happen in the future. Give them a few movies.
Yes, there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. If you want to see the deleted scenes for Shang-Chi, I think they're up on Disney Plus already, but I watched them on YouTube, so there you go.
Wow! And if you haven't seen our review of that episode, of that movie, you definitely got to check out that episode.
Yeah, that was a good one because a lot of people just watch Shang-Chi because it came on Disney Plus.
Right.
So if you do watch the movie and you want to see our take on it, and we have a lot of really good tidbits, definitely check that out on MCMI Reports YouTube page.
And speaking of Disney Plus, Eternals will be dropping on Disney Plus on January 20th.
Really?
So be watch out for that.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah. That's cool. That's not too far away.
It's not. The 45-day window was, that's a new thing. I mean, that's something that movies are not really used to having their content released so soon after the release. But this is a new era.
Yeah.
And Disney Plus is the home. So.
Do you just want to get right into Hawkeye, or do you want to talk a little bit about the Spider-Man happenings that we never got a chance to talk about?
I mean, the biggest story. What's really happened over the last few weeks is just this story has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. So as fans, I know it's one thing to love the movie, but we're also looking at the fanfare around the movie and all of the Sony interactions and the Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield speculation is really crazy, bro.
I think the biggest conspiracy right now is the Phantom Punch, right? So you have in the trailer you see the Lizard jumping at Spider-Man, and you only see Spider-Man, and there's a lot going on this side of the screen, but very little going on this side of the screen, right? You just see a little Spider-Man, and you have all these things going. Right, so the screen is uneven, right? It doesn't make sense. So you realize that they had to edit something out of this side. But what? And then you see the lizard jump, and his head snaps back like he gets hit.
Not in our version. That's the Brazilian version of the trailer.
Yes, you're right.
But you're right. I mean, I don't know how that happened with the different versions, but you actually see Lizard getting hit by somebody. Mm-hmm. So it becomes a little bit more than speculation. You know, right? Because if it was just that, we could just speculate that it's wide, it's uneven. Yeah. We know that that's not likely. But you actually do see someone removed that's hitting him. So I think we're there. You know what I'm saying? Andrew Garfield is still denying it up to this week.
You think it's a Spider-Man?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. You think it's something else?
What if?
Oh, boy.
What if it's Doc Ock?
I know. I would be very disappointed if it was Doc Ock. Everything that's happening, Blitz, aside the fanfare, forget the internet.
I would be
just
fine.
The plot points.
I would be so fine if there were no other Spider-Man in this movie.
I don't think they're gonna do that, man. Even in the trailer, you have them asking Doc, "Is this your Doc Ock? Do you know Peter Parker?" He's like, "Yeah." "Is this your Peter Parker?" "No." Like, why would you do all of that and not have Tobey Maguire in this movie?
Sure.
It's just such a tease, bro. It's just such a disrespectful tease at this point.
Nah, they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it for sure. What is interesting to me is how big of a part Doc Ock does play in this movie. Is he a villain the entire time? Is he a good guy? Because when he was about to die, he said, "I'm not going to die a villain," and he did the right thing. He switched he had a story arc and became a good guy.
Yeah.
So is he going to be helpful in this movie at a point, or is he always going to be a villain? Another thing is, where do the versions of Sandman and Electro come from? Because it's not from the Amazing Spider-Man or the original Spider-Man movies timelines. Because this Electro is completely different. He has Stark Tech on his suit. He has
an arc reactor.
Yeah. And the Sandman looks like a black dude to me. It does not look like that original actor.
Tom Hayden Christensen?
Yeah, is that his name?
Yeah, Thomas Hayden Christensen.
Right. It doesn't look like him, and they never show him in any of the trailers, right, or anything. So I think that might be. I think when people are saying, they're saying they're coming from all over the multiverse, but we're only seeing 2 of the multiverse. I think that's not true, because I think we are getting a brand new version of Electro. Mm-hmm. We're getting a brand new version of. Sandman.
Agreed, but it's not. I don't think it's a brand new version of Green Goblin.
No.
Right. So,
but what's interesting is later on in the trailer, you see him out of the Power Ranger suit, and he has like goggles on, and So, is it more than one Green Goblin in this movie, or does he change his outfit? I would see it more likely that the one in the original Power Ranger suit winds up dying, but another one comes through, but it's a different version of him from a different universe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then that's like, that gives our Spider-Man, what's his name? Tom Holland. More of a reason to feel like, I don't want these villains to die. I don't want them to die on from my hands. This is wrong, and that's why I'm now fighting against Doctor Strange to make sure that this doesn't happen. And it's going to be an interesting movie.
Man, it's going to be crazy. I'm hoping that the reason why we see so much Goblin is that we actually have, Harry Oswald, not Harry Oswald. Osborn in this universe. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hope we just see more of him. I heard a rumor that those goggles are Doc Ock's goggles. I mean, who knows? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm very excited for the movie, though. Tickets go on sale on Monday. And as far as the trailer breaking records is concerned, what is it going to do for the advanced ticket sales for this movie?
Yeah.
It's going to be ridiculous.
Alamo Draft House?
Let's do it. Alamo.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Like, that's something that's really, really crazy. So as movie fans, when are you getting your Spider-Man tickets? By the time this comes out, the tickets will probably be available. Have you gotten them yet? Definitely get them as soon as you can, because they will be sold out pretty quick. This is the end game of the Spider-Verse.
Yeah. And if and when does Venom come in, or it's so much.
It's a Sinister Six. My last question while we get into this is Sinister Six. There's only 5 of them. Who's the 6th one?
Right. It could be Venom. Right. It could be Mysterio. You know, I would love for at the last minute for, you know, Mysterio to just come back and be like,
hey, bitches.
Gotcha, bitch.
It's Jake Gyllenhaal, bitches.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know, I would love to see, you know, maybe a Vulture come through, you know.
Oh, yeah.
He's still on the contract.
Yeah.
He could be in this movie.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it could be Scorpion, because we do have Scorpion that was in jail with Vulture.
Right.
You know,
it seemed like they forgot about Scorpion.
I know. I really wanted to see that.
Yeah.
I really wanted to see it.
They really
and if they just like totally go for the comedy bit and they bring Rhino through, that'd be amazing.
Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
Great actor with the wackest role ever.
Yeah.
It's just weird that with all the marketing they don't have 6 villains. That's just weird to me. Because I know Kevin Feige knows what's up. Y'all know it's Sinister Six.
Yeah, and unless they still want to allow Sony to do it, right? So you give them 5 now, and then tease for the next, you know, Sony movie to be the Sinister Six.
I don't see
like, you know, they don't die. Let's say he does save them, and they'd be like, okay, well, you know, let's form a gang now, because right before they were just all coming from different places to fight Spider-Man. Now it's like, hey, you don't like Spider-Man? You don't like Spider-Man? Right. Well, let's all join together, and then, you know, end scene.
At the end of the movie, they're like, if we only had 1 more, we need 6. And the movie ends. That's hilarious. But that's No Way Home, and that's coming out December 22nd, I believe, right? So watch out for that. We're definitely going to cover that.
Yeah, man.
But for now, we're still at home. We're still at home, a little close to Earth. We're in New York, and this story is set in New York. This is the most normal Avenger that we have. Finally gets his own shot.
Yeah.
Even Ant-Man got 2 movies before my man got his film.
2 movies, and a third coming.
Disrespect to Jeremy Renner, but he is an original OG. Give it up for my man Hawkeye. Yo. Hawkeye, who you can see as being the wackest Avenger, or like me, I give him a lot of respect for being an Avenger.
Who's the wackest Avenger? Wow.
I mean, I mean, you know, I put Black Widow below him to me, because to me Hawkeye is just a more fascinating character.
He's kind of Black Widow with a bow and arrow, which gives him a little bit more of an advantage because he has the sharpshooting skills. I see it.
I think so. But then again, you know, Scarlett Johansson is Scarlett Johansson. She's just a lot better to look at.
Sure.
But anyway, we finally got him to Disney Plus, you know, thanks to the fact that, you know, we don't have to put everything in a cinematic way. So I think this brings it down to earth. We have 6 episodes. They dropped 2 at once, so we only have 4 episodes left, which is 1 month leading directly to Christmas. So I thought that was pretty smart.
Inside the show, right? Yeah. At some point in time, I don't want to, jump ahead too far, but it's like he's talking to his wife, and she's like, obviously he's not going to make it home for Christmas, and she's like, well, you still got 6 days to make it, or something like that. And it felt like, I was like, are we getting an episode a day?
Yes.
So this is basically like Marvel's 24?
Yes.
It's kind of cool. Like, they didn't even, like...
You figured it out.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly what they're doing. Leading straight, and so the strategy and the dates and the time is definitely done well.
Yeah.
It's definitely done well, and I love the fact that it's New York. I mean, you're seeing Grand Central Station, you're seeing Rockefeller Center, even Broadway. It's just very, very grounded in New York.
Yeah, and it didn't seem fake at all. Like
no.
A lot of times you see a show that's in New York, but it's like, fam, that's not New York.
Right,
like, none of that is New York.
Right. You're in Atlanta. We're in Atlanta. See Buckhead's back. But we're gonna go through really quick just the first 2 episodes, and I'm just curious to know how you felt about it. This is we'll give opinions later.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
But it starts with what else but the Battle of New York in 2012. Yeah. It gave a pedestrian level, a more human perspective.
Bird's eye view.
But the second you see 2012 on the screen, you don't have to ask any more questions.
Yeah,
so
you know what
you're about to see.
Yeah.
And I thought it was cool. Hawkeye definitely was holding his own. But seeing young Kate Bishop, who's obviously affluent, obviously wealthy.
Wow, that apartment, boy.
That penthouse was kind of
nuts.
So you can see even the levels, the explosions happening. So if somebody like me want a 1-bedroom apartment, my view would have been a lot different.
Yeah, she's like on billion. She's like he's in the middle of Midtown, like super, super affluent. And you see her, at first, I guess, the father and mother arguing, and she's like, we got to sell the penthouse, and he's like, nah, we don't got to sell the penthouse. She's like, whoa, basically, where are we gonna get this money from, or whatever. Obviously he grew up rich because that was his house.
She mentioned that.
And so it's interesting dynamic there, and then all hell breaks loose, right?
All hell breaks loose. If you're suspicious of the mother's role at all, those seeds are kind of planted. I think that seed was first planted when she said that she grew up there. Then he ends up dead. You know what I mean? Like, there's usually, oftentimes, those, if you have those kind of relationships where, couples are like breaking up and one's rich and one's not, and then one ends up dead. There's usually some sort of nefarious, oftentimes. We'll have our eye on Mom Dukes, because there's definitely some, because in the comics, it was flipped.
Yes, for sure.
Just in some background, the mom was the one who went missing, and then we found out later that it was some nefarious. But anyways, but at this, we see Kate Bishop watching Hawkeye, do his little rooftop kind of fight with the aliens, and even the arrow that saved Kate Bishop. We've seen Avengers so much, we know that specific arrow.
Yeah. That was so smart.
Because each arrow did different things. That arrow kind of glowed, kind of melted. That we know this.
Yeah.
So that was very, very smart on their part, because they know we know. And then it was just done on YouTube. I don't know if you saw the split screen where they showed.
It was an exact shot from a different angle, like of him reaching. He doesn't have any more arrows left or whatever. Then he does the whole jump. It was pretty dope.
That was cool. They did a similar thing in Spider-Man: Homecoming, when he was recording the Civil War footage from a distance. And that's always cool, just to establish some more, But anyway, Kate Bishop realizes she's turned out. I mean, she's like, listen, I saw this guy with a... Maybe that's wrong, because she was a little girl. 10. But, I mean, she grew up just being enamored with this, Archer, and starts her training from there.
He saved her life. He is the person that... Out of all of the characters, she's the one that she saw fighting and, risking life and limb. And on top of all of that, he's the human one. She's just a regular girl. So she's the only one that she could really aspire to be, or maybe Iron Man. But, this is somebody that she could look up to and feel like if she could protect her family, I could protect my family that way.
Right. Right.
Because obviously now that she's had this traumatic experience, like, I have to protect my mom. My dad is gone. I have to protect my mom. And that's pretty much seems like, something that's driving her right now.
Definitely. And you said it well. I mean, out of all the Avengers, to spot the one that is only carrying around a bow and arrow was the most empowering thing for her.
Yeah.
Because if it was Thor, I mean, you don't have a magical, mystical hammer. So that was pretty cool to do. Even that slow motion shot was just really, really done well.
Yeah.
And at the funeral, she's like, "Mom, I need a bow and arrow." Yeah. So she gets the training, and then we have the title card. Now I saw a lot of online pundits and people going back and forth, and I don't know how you felt about it, but how do you feel about them using the Battle of New York again? Was it like again, or was it like? Or was it something that...
I think they use the snap a lot for things to use as a launch pad for stories. I think that the Battle of New York is just as important, if not more important, because aliens, came out of nowhere. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it was this first time that you see a superhuman team. Mm-hmm. It would have to be the biggest event to ever happen.
Yes.
That the Battle of New York is it.
That was it.
You know what I'm saying? For the snap, the people that disappeared just disappeared. They don't know what happened, and then they came back. Wow, yes, very traumatic experience, but it's like you were there and then you weren't. But for the Battle of New York, it's like, yo, my whole mind is blown. There are aliens. What?
Yeah.
There's people that turn green and turn 8 feet tall. Like, what are we talking about here?
Right. No,
so,
it was important.
I definitely like that, especially when you're trying to bring in new characters. You would think that like Kate Bishop, that was the point where it's like, holy crap, there's, these superhuman beings, there's these things coming out of the sky. I want to be a part of this.
Yeah. It just got real.
Yeah.
It just got real. So yeah, I mean, that was the springboard for the show, which was a great groundwork. And then we get into Kate Bishop. And even in the title art, we see that this is a very Kate Bishop-centric show.
Yeah.
Which may surprise people, may disappoint people. I'm curious to know how the general public feels about that.
I thought it was really dope how they were able to tell a lot of the story in that beginning, animated sequence that we don't need you to, add into the series. You told her up. Right. You showed everything that basically she went through, her training and becoming, a marksman, becoming becoming a gymnast, becoming a fighter.
Martial arts.
Yeah, all of those things. So they did a good job with that. And for them to do it in a way that looked just like the Faction Aja comic series was very dope, because if you know the comic books, it puts you in a mindset for what you're about to get.
Matt Fraction and David Aja, their run on this, their influence in this series is just it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So definitely pick that book up if you can.
Yeah, I'm sure there is a trade paperback now of the probably the whole run, if not in 1 and 2 series. But
she has this little instance at school, Kate Bishop, where she's shooting a tower.
She's got a bet with her friends that she can make the bell ring, and she goes up there. It's like a bet's a bet. I got to do it.
The most interesting little Easter egg on this scene is that it's Stane Tower. Obadiah Stane, who was the villain in Iron Man 1. Ironmonger, right? We also see him for a quick second in Spider-Man Far From Home, right? So that's a dope callback for sure. Yeah. He's a villain too, so he shouldn't have educational
things named after him. But he's rich, so a lot of rich evil people have things named after them.
Very true. Very true. So she actually destroys the bell tower. which is just funny.
Man, that was amazing. I was like, I didn't think that was gonna happen.
I didn't think that was gonna happen either. That was a lot, but it was just kind of funny way to introduce her character.
Yeah. How
reckless she is, how kind of just funny she is,
and how good she is already.
And good. Yeah, and bad.
I mean, good with a bow and arrow. That's what I mean.
Right.
Stupid, but
They go into the musical. They bring in the Clint Rogers musical, a timeless story for a timeless hero.
You say Clint Rogers.
Clint Rogers. I mean Steve Rogers.
Steve Rogers.
Oh my gosh, Clint took his family. He has his kids. His left wife at home because he has to strengthen the relationship with his kids. Yeah. He had a very traumatic couple years. Endgame, snap, blah blah blah. Wants to reconnect with his kids, so he took him to Broadway. I thought this was a very interesting, and we saw this in the trailers, this Broadway musical, this Avengers musical.
I will be very upset if by Christmas there's not at least a 10-minute short of Rogers the Musical on Disney Plus.
I mean,
it's hilarious. I love it.
It was so funny and real. Like, we know 1,000% if the Battle of New York, we were just talking about it, if that happened in 2012, by this time there would be a musical.
Yeah.
Where these honky people are just over here singing like it's another show.
I mean, we saw when Spider-Man, Tom Holland was on the plane going, out of the country. He saw they had a bunch of movies about things that had happened.
On the plane, yeah.
So why wouldn't there be musicals as well, right? Yeah.
It's true. They had like PBS specials and documentaries. Yeah, I mean, Marvel does a great job and just kind of incorporating the superhero life with everyday life. Yeah. So you as a fan, you get to kind of be the regular people interacting with it. It's really brilliant. But it's funny you see how he zeroes in on Natasha on Black Widow which is real. Imagine you were there, right? You actually fought in this battle, and you're sitting there with your kids. Yeah. You're the only one. Everybody else is there, kind of enjoying it. You're sitting there like, he literally took out his hearing aid.
Yeah, he didn't want to hear it.
if you're not unaware, ladies and gentlemen, he has a hearing issue. In the comics, he went fully deaf. Mm-hmm. In this, they kind of just said, just natural being an Avenger. Yeah. He's suffering some hearing loss. So that's an important kind of factor in the story. But yeah, just watching all these things. Ant-Man was in there.
Yes. Which was hilarious.
He had a Pym he had the Pym logo.
Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah. He had a Pym logo on his shirt, which on YouTube somebody was saying may have kind of alluded to maybe like a corporate relationship.
Perhaps, yeah.
Maybe like Pym Industries was like, yo, let's throw our logo in there.
Well, the interesting thing to me was that he was there at all. And you could look at it multiple ways. You could look at it like, well, he's an Avenger and they just wanted to incorporate all the Avengers in. It doesn't matter if he was there or not.
Yeah.
But then you can also look at it like they went back in time, and when they went back in time, he was there.
Oh, that's funny.
Right? I just say, I don't know.
He brought time travel to it. That's funny. But even calling it "I Can Do This All Day," like that song is just—that's the song that they need to have that song out somehow.
Hey, come on, man.
You
think Agatha they won't? Yeah, exactly. If Agatha's up for a Grammy or whatever, like whatever it is, like.
And Agatha, that song was on. Yeah,
it's interesting because the silhouette of Steve Rogers on the billboards, it reminds me of this really bad Rob Liefeld artwork of Captain America. Where his chest is like 18 times too big and he's holding the shield. It looked like that a little bit, funny. But more in proper
human dimensions.
Yeah, and also they did the whole thing, modeled it after Hamilton.
Yes. Yeah. And in real life, where they showed it is literally across the street from where Hamilton really is.
Yeah, yeah.
And Broadway, just So they actually they use real locations.
And the theater that's in, isn't it called the Rogers Theater?
Yeah, that's not the Rogers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. I mean, it's actually called the Rogers Theater, not in the show. It's like really the Rogers Theater.
Yes. But yeah, that was smart. So we'll see what comes up with that. But yeah, that was just him trying to stay connected with his kids. He went to the bathroom. A fan was chasing him. He had Thanos was right on the thing, which is funny. Yeah. But he's going through trauma. His best friend was literally murdered for the sake of the universe, and they're over here with a musical. So I'm sure he's probably offended that this is even happening.
Was she murdered or did she commit suicide?
I'm sure from his perspective, she was murdered for the sake of the universe.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Suicide. She didn't she had to do it.
She volunteered. She's like,
but she had to do it.
She had to do it. But that's still suicide. Even if you have to do it, you still killed yourself.
From his perspective, it's not suicide. This guy. But yeah, that's he's definitely going through it. So, just hopping around, we finally So. Kate Bishop has to now answer to her mom for the whole tower thing.
Yeah.
So her mom's like, okay, you're rich. You think you're invincible. You're rich. You're young. People like that tend to think you're invincible. You're not. Come to this party with me tonight.
Yeah.
She's like, whatever. I cancel your credit cards. Whatever. Come to this party. At this party, she meets some important characters.
Up in the mic.
She meets some important characters at this party. She meets Armand Duquesne the third, and she meets she doesn't meet, but we meet Jack Duquesne. Jacques, who is,
they just call him Jack, but we know he's Jacques.
He's Jacques. He's not only, and if you look up the character, he's also listed as the swordsman.
On the show notes?
On the show notes, he's listed as the swordsman. They're not hiding that.
Right. Okay. Got it.
They're not hiding that. So in the comic books, the swordsman trained Clint Barton.
Were they in the circus of bad guy villainy before? Hawkeye used to be a bad guy. A lot of people don't know that. Hawkeye started off as a villain, and became a good guy, right? He was in this circus troupe that were like, thieves and people. Yeah. So and I think Swordsman was in it with him, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it looks like they may be just shifting the Swordsman character to Kate Bishop's life.
Yeah.
And may end up training her at some point. I do think the whole him being a villain is a distraction. I don't think.
I believe that he's kind of bad, but not all bad. Okay. You know what I'm saying? I think he has a little bad in him, and even the fact that that he was part of the secret auction and all of that stuff that was going down there, is. I think it is definitely a red herring that he's not necessarily the bad guy. We know him as a bad guy, and I think most people who dive deep before a show comes out is like, oh, that's the bad guy. They're just not going to put him in in the costume yet. Right. But I think there's definitely a big twist there.
A little twist. Yeah. I do think so too. She as we kind of go into this party gets deeper. And the party's not really important. It's really the underground auction that's really the important element of this particular event.
Yes.
Where it's a charity event, but underground, we have an underground auction where they have these illegal artifacts that they shouldn't be selling, but you know how rich people do, especially in New York. There was this huge Triceratops skull, which was pretty cool.
That was dope.
I don't know how much that went for. But they also had a Ronin sword. And they called it the Ronin sword, the sword of Ronin. Mm-hmm. And they had his outfit in a box. Mm-hmm. By the time they got to the box, the tracksuit gang came through. Tracksuit Mafia came through, and they kind of busted it up to get a watch. Mm-hmm. They were looking for a watch. This is what they said. But they came, set explosives. Everybody comes running everywhere, and we see the Ronin suit in full sight. And Kate Bishop sees it. She kind of snuck down on the ground, and she puts on this suit and starts fighting the tracksuit mafia.
Yes.
How do we feel about this scene?
I didn't have any problems with it. I thought it was cool. It kind of showed you what she could do to some extent.
Yeah.
I thought it was really funny how the suit fit her. Like I'm glad it didn't.
Like a glove.
It didn't. It seemed kind of floppy to me.
Oh, it said as far as like okay, like it looked like it was a little bigger for her.
Yeah. I was curious about the watch and why the watch was so important. Mm-hmm. It seemed like they kind of talked about it real quick and then just like kind of went off from it. So I'm curious as to if it is really important, if we're gonna go back to that, or not.
It didn't look like a huge techie watch, right? It didn't look like, because when I think of watches, I think of Tony Stark. Right?
Yeah.
I think of him with his techie watch and it didn't look like that. So I don't know. If you think about, the tracksuit mafia, we know that Kingpin is there somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Maybe was it his watch? I don't know. Well, I'm sure they'll get back to that because they even had a number. It was like item 289 or like they had a specific number on it. Mm-hmm.
I watched Red Notice last night. Did you see that yet?
No.
Terrible movie. Don't watch it.
Looks like a money
grab. It made a lot of money, for I think it was like the highest grossing Netflix movie or something. But it was also the highest amount spent on a Netflix movie. Not necessarily for the special effects or all of that, but cast, right?
Please.
Do you know that Ryan Reynolds sold Aviation Tequila for $610 million?
No, I didn't.
Do you know that he also owns Mint Mobile, which is supposed to be sold for another $600 million? Oh, wow. That man's got money.
Go Ryan. Go
Deadpool.
I heard that The Rock's liquor was featured in the movie, and Ryan Reynolds' liquor was featured in the movie.
Yeah.
Shameless.
Hey man, you can use what you can, right? But no matter. Anyway, my point was there was a big part of it was about this watch, right? And this watch was an old watch. It actually belonged to Hitler's right-hand man, and then the watch got broken, and there was a piece in it that went into a thing, and it turned, and it opened up where all of this crazy stuff was. Sorry, spoiler alert. Who cares? We talking about Marvel here. Anyway, so there could be some component of that watch because if you're going to keep something close to you, what better way to keep it close to you than, right on your arm where you can always see it. So maybe there's, some type of technology in there or some type of code that could be used in some way, and that's why the watch was so important. Not necessarily just because they wanted an some ancient artifact or some old, not ancient but old, timepiece that was worth money.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. So keep your eye on the watch, guys. We'll see what episode we only have 4 episodes left.
Yeah, man, it's going by.
But Kate sees it. My biggest takeaway from this, and I'm still getting into the show. I like it, but I'm still getting into it. I don't see Kate Bishop as being formidable. What I saw, especially in this first tracksuit mafia battle, I saw a lot of flukes and a lot of, I don't know. I just don't. I'm thinking like of Hawkeye, her replacing Hawkeye on the Avengers, right?
Okay.
This show is trying to say, hey, here's a new character who will replace Hawkeye on the new iteration of the Avengers are going to be.
Sure.
So what I see is somebody who's this is the first couple episodes, and we don't know how she's going to grow, but I'm like, this chick's going to need some serum or something because she's just so she's just not formidable.
I think I like that I think a lot of the new heroes that we're going to wind up getting are their rise is going to be a big part of their story.
Right.
Them making lots of mistakes is going to be a big part of their story. Their training could be a big part of the story. And who trains them, right? Where is she going to get this training from? Is she going to get it from Clint? Or is she just getting her inspiration to be who she is from Clint, and then she gets the training someplace else? Or does her training come from multiple places, like her training so far has come from for the past 10 years, where, she's going to this karate place or, this jujitsu place or this, learning gymnastics over here. Could she get her training from lots of places? And here's a thought that just came to me not too long ago was the funding for whatever comes next. Where does that come from? Right? She's rich. I mean, clearly, Clint's not getting money from Tony anymore. Cap is not getting, Falcon / Captain America is not getting money from. So where's this money coming from, right? So at the end of all this, is she still rich? Is her mother around? Does she inherit more? Is she the funder of whatever comes next?
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Because you definitely need that.
Yeah, man. You can't have a super team without money.
I never thought about that.
You gotta have Batman. You gotta have Iron Man. You gotta have, at one point in time, I think Tony was dead, and Thor was just like, yeah, just go take the Rainbow Bridge, go get some gold, just take it, do whatever you need.
Really?
Yeah, it was dope. And then another time, it was T'Challa funding the Avengers. You always need that rich person, or else the story just can't work. But I would love to see a story where they don't have money. Like there's a super team, but they don't really have money like that.
That's Trauma like, damn.
Yeah,
that's actually a good idea. That's not a bad idea. But so she's Ronin at this point. Mm-hmm. She's full Ronin gear. She pretty much saves everybody from the tracksuit mafia. They're outside now, so people are now getting footage of her.
Yes, in the Ronin suit,
which is important, in the Ronin suit. Clint finally jumps in and saves her because she's getting her ass whooped. Rips off her mask. Like, who are you? Like, he's ready to really tear up whoever's under this suit.
For sure.
Realize that it's a little girl, and it's like, yo. And pretty much the episode ends there.
It baffles my mind, right? That, not really, but she's like, you're a kid. And then, everybody's like, oh, this kid, this girl, this, whatever. She's 22 years old. She's 22.
She looks like she's like a... At one point, he's like, are you 18? No, I'm 22. He's like, same thing. Yeah. Which is funny because she looks young.
Yeah. No, she definitely looks young. But she's one of those actresses that could play, you have these movies where they play teenagers, but they're like 30 years old.
Definitely.
That's her.
She's on Dickinson, too. She's a dope actress. And I will say, as much as I'm not impressed with Kate, I'm more impressed with Haley Steinfeld than I am with Kate Bishop. I'll say that.
Got it. Yeah.
Which is keeping me engaged with the show.
My wife's like, she's kind of annoying.
I mean, I could see that because she's a big personality, which the MCU needs. They need heroes with big personalities, so they're gonna do a lot with her.
Yeah,
I can see her being the face of the Avengers. Believe it or not, we'll see. The Young Avengers, rather. But back to her place. Clint is kind of getting to know her. He's not really with it. Keep in mind, he needs to be back with his kids in about 5 days, 5 or 6 days.
Yeah.
So there's a time limit on this entire thing, and she just threw a huge wrench.
Yeah,
the hugest wrench you could really think of.
He just wants the suit. He wants to get the suit and get out of there. Is basically what he's looking for.
That's it. Back to her place. Please take off the suit, ma'am. I could be about my business. So while he's asking her little questions about the space, about how'd you get the suit? What did you do while you were in the suit? Did you happen to murder anybody while you're in the suit? Did you commit any crimes? Did anybody see you?
Yeah.
And all this, no, nobody traced me. Nobody saw me. No. And then you hear them outside, and she's like, oh, wait, my name is on the buzzer.
Yeah.
And they followed her. So that was just really funny. And then we have my favorite moment that got me to be excited about the show was the Molotov cocktails part. That to me was like, you're cool, bro. You're cool. Because I've never seen that I've never seen that in live action.
That was dope.
Where someone throws a Molotov cocktail towards someone, you catch it and throw it back. I've never seen that.
Wait, first he broke the window so that it wouldn't explode on the window.
Very true.
Breaks the window.
That's important.
And allows.
That's important because had he just let it come to you, that wouldn't have happened. He broke another window.
Yeah.
Caught it and then threw it out the other window.
I think what's dope is that like Hawkeye never really got to show off how dope he was.
Agreed.
Even in the movies prior to Black Widow kind of got to show what she could do a lot, right? But he never got that time to show how ill he is at being a spy, at he got to shoot some arrows once in a while, but that was it. It wasn't like he's really nice. He's the one that got Natasha to turn to the good side to become an Avenger, to become a part of SHIELD and then later on an Avenger.
Right.
But and he had to be good at something or a lot of things in order to even get to that point to turn her mind from being a killer for Russian KGB or whatever.
Yeah. And in this series, and I'm hoping we get to a lot more of that. But we're learning to see his ground level skills as far as just patching up a wound, little things like that.
That was one of my favorite parts because I am not the Hulk, I am not Thor, I'm not even Captain America, right? I have to know how to fix myself up after every one of these fights. Like that is way more important than putting together some trick arrows and all that. My arm is broke.
Right.
I gotta fix this.
Right.
I got a laceration on my head.
Right.
I gotta clean this and make sure that it doesn't get infected or whatever.
Right.
And that's what ground level heroes gotta deal with. And I thought it was so dope. They was like, we gotta go get peroxide and
Yes. Meanwhile, she's thinking, we're about to go to the Avengers safe house.
Right.
She's like, nah. Like, those days are even over.
Yeah, man.
There was a time, Age of Ultron days, there would have been a place where he would have been like, let's go to my spot.
Yeah.
And it would have been this huge thing, but that's not where we are now.
Yeah.
And that is cool, because we know the stories, we know the timeline. So that worked out cool to kind of, bring out who Clint Barton is.
For sure.
But dope little, they have a little battle. They escape to another place. He leaves her in another one of her, like her aunt's crib or whatever. He's like, I'm gonna leave you here.
Well, first, before we even go there, right? Where the whole Molotov cocktail thing happened. When we first meet the second time we see the Tracksuit Mafia. That place is her apartment is above a pizza shop. Basically, I think she owns the building. She inherited the building. We don't know where from where. I would assume her father. She inherited it from her father. But why would he own this grimy pizza shop? I don't know.
Right, that may come in handy.
But also her apartment is basically looks like the upstairs part of the restaurant. Like there's the restaurant chairs. There's like salt and pepper shaker. They don't use that, and that just became her apartment.
Training.
The thing that's different from the comics is that. In the comics, Hawkeye, Clint owned or he lived in a building like this, not her. So they flipped it where now she lives in the the beat up apartment instead of him, because obviously he lives with his family, right, on the ranch or wherever they live. So
that makes sense. Sense. Well, this whatever the interaction they had, this space, of course, Molotov cocktails, fire. This space goes up in flames with the Ronin suit at this space. Mm-hmm. So then they escape. Leave the suit. Go to another space.
Yeah, I thought clearly. I mean, Clint knows that the suit must be fireproof because he's like, "I'll get it later." I'm like, "Yo, it's in the middle of a burning building. What are we talking about?"
Your wardrobe must be some real serious.
Yeah, flame retardant.
Right. Yeah. So he went back to get it. You want my keys? No, I don't need keys. I'm Hawkeye.
Another dope. Like keys. Like, what are we talking about here?
I'm good, thanks. So goes back. The firemen are outside. He grabs this is one of the silly things they do in shows and movies where they have people just sneaking through things that they never would have to do.
I'll just walk up and get me a fireman suit.
Nobody's looking anyway. But if you notice on the helmet was 54.
Okay.
Now that's the famous fireman platoon that rushed into
9/11.
Yes.
Got it.
That's a real.
Didn't know that. That's dope.
Fireman. So that was pretty cool. The suit's not there. He comes downstairs, puts his suit back and sees NYC LARPer sticker on the fire truck. Now, before this episode had no idea what LARPing was. what I didn't know it was what it meant. Did you know what it meant offhand?
Yeah.
I had no idea what it was. I had to look up.
Well, I knew what it was, but I didn't know what the acronym was. I didn't know.
Right. I didn't know it was an acronym. LARPing, LARP stands for Live Action Role Play. Did not know. I had to look that up. Mm-hmm. But this is where he kind of finds out. Well, maybe this is where my suit is.
When I used to live at the penthouse, right? And you can see the from my apartment. You can see the what cemetery is that right there? It's a cemetery like right across the street. It's a super famous cemetery. Like Boss Hogg is in there. A bunch of people. Park Slope, Brooklyn. Doesn't matter. But it's a really really famous cemetery with a lot of famous people in there, right? In fact, Pop Smoke was in there, and his grave got nice. Anyway, I can't believe I can't remember the name. I lived over there for so long, but. Mm-hmm. There was this one time I heard these big bangs, right? And I wake up and I go and I look out the window. And there's Greenpoint, right? Greenwood, right. Greenwood Cemetery. And I look out the window and there's a bunch of people reenacting the Civil War in the cemetery. I was like, what? It was amazing. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, sorry.
I've never seen that in person.
I digress.
I've never seen that in person, but it sounds really interesting. So they have this, LARPing role play. He actually goes there. Says, this guy, you can actually see the dude. Clint he does not want to be here. Trust me, he's too cool for this. But he's there. He literally sees the guy. They won't let him go, so he has to actually participate in this LARPing session.
Yes.
I don't know what you would call it.
Yes, grills.
And they showed grills with the it was funny because they showed the video that he made. Yeah. He was like, y'all was talking about my suit. I was actually
look
laughing.
At me now.
I was talking about my suit. He had jokes on my suit, and then he did like the little scrub, and then he showed him like, look at me now.
That was funny.
I thought that was actually really, really funny because that's something a real person
would actually happen, right?
Especially a black dude.
And Grills is in the comic books. But in the comics he is Clint's neighbor. And he goes up on the roof a lot, and he grills. That's why they call him Grills.
Right. So, does he have a larger role? Do you think we'll see this guy again?
I mean, probably.
Okay, yeah, we'll probably see
Grills again.
Okay, cool. So yeah, he makes him kind of reenact the whole death scene to get the suit back. All good. It was a cool little scene.
Yeah, that was dope.
So he gets the suit back. Now we're at with Kate now. The police are now calling Kate on the phone. Yo, your spot was just, wrecked in a fire. Why are you not even concerned about that? She kind of puts him away.
I really like that cop for some reason. He's like, you know your apartment got burned down?
Right.
And she's like, yeah.
She sounds like excited.
He's like, well, I kind of need to speak to you about it because burned down.
Right. Property damage.
Yeah.
But no, she's having dinner with her mom and Jacques. Of course, she's growing in suspicion. But she doesn't like it. I mean, considering, I don't know if I mentioned this, she learned about their engagement at this party.
Yeah, stop hitting the mic.
She learned about this engagement at this party, which is not, as a kid, you don't want to find out your mom's getting engaged to somebody.
Yeah.
By somebody else.
Yeah, and his uncle, Jacques' uncle, what was his name?
Armand. The third. Out of at least 7.
He wasn't really happy with her mom for whatever reason. It's like he thinks she's such a prize. I don't know. I was like, yo, you're talking to a kid, fam. But like, that's my. I'd be like, yo, that's my mother, yo.
You're right.
Yo, what? So what you saying, fam?
It sounded like how rich people on that level, have that entitlement. Mm-hmm. You're right though.
But then the mom and him have an argument. I think we did we skip all that stuff?
Well, that's coming.
Okay, gotcha.
No, that's coming. That's pretty much coming. She pretty much, they have that little, she calls Jacques out to go fencing. Actually, no, I'm lying. That didn't happen already.
Yeah, because he's already dead.
Because already dead, yeah. Armand is dead. Armand the third is dead. Spoiler. So as they're kind of going back and forth to her place, she ends up finding out that she ends up sneaking into his place.
Yes.
And finds out that he's dead and sneaks out before the maid gets to kind of see her. They have a little so Armand is dead. Of course, she's fully suspicious about Jack because it was a laceration. It was a blade.
And he had the sword. He took he auctioned and got the sword that belonged to Ronan before all hell broke loose. Mm-hmm. So, which was like, a nod to everybody. Okay, the sword master, he wants the sword, but doesn't have the money for the sword, which was very interesting to me. That was
very interesting. So
his uncle was like, you don't have $300,000.
He's like, I will.
Yeah, he's like, I'll inherit it eventually.
You know what I'm saying? Once my wife dies.
That's a little red herring, I'm sure, to make it look like no, not his wife. I think he said I'm going to inherit it eventually.
I guess from his
from
family.
If the uncle dies, right, who has most of the family's wealth right now, then I'm sure a lot of it is supposed to go to him. Not all of it, because there's Armand the first through 7, right?
Right, we don't even know who's alive.
Yeah.
Even the little kid was about to get some. The 7th. But no, you're right. So of course, Kate thinks 100%, that Jack did this. Mm-hmm. I probably would as well. At dinner, she calls him out, and they actually have a little fencing bout.
Yes.
Which is what rich people do at dinner.
Sure.
And he downplays his skill.
Yeah.
She can tell while she's fighting him that he's downplaying his skill. And even at the end, she kind of goes for his head without even looking, which is a dope little move. Yeah. That was like, listen, I'm playing with you. And even to his credit, this is his girlfriend's daughter. He's not disrespecting her.
Daughter, yeah.
Fiance's daughter. He's not disrespecting her.
Right.
You can't really be mad at him because he's not really doing anything wrong.
He's not. But to us, it feels like he's throwing subtle hints that I don't care if you know I'm the bad guy.
Right.
Is what it feels like. Like he tries to hand her the uncle's candy that she saw in the house when she found him dead.
Right.
Or, just little things like that. Like,
Right.
make us think that they want us to think that he's the bad guy.
Right. They're definitely heavy-handed with the swordsman connotations. So we'll see. I think that he's not going to be bad at all. I think he's going to end up being one of her coaches. Yeah,
I think once the turn happens, because I think the mom is just the worst, like the absolute worst. And I'll tell you why. Spoiler. ISO Boom.
Right.
She owns a security company, right?
Yes, that's important.
Now, I understand her deciding to open a security company after the attack on New York because you want to keep people safe, right? That I have this money now. I inherited this from my husband, I guess. But he was in debt, right? So how was she able to now still have money, still have the same apartment, right? She still lives in that same apartment. Where did this money come from? What deals did she make in order to make this happen? Or did, him dying allow her his life insurance, which now, allowed her to, regrow the wealth or whatever, right? Did she kill him because she knew that there was things happening? We never saw his body. Is he dead, or did he just disappear because he knew that if he was dead, that they would get money, knowing that they were in such huge debt or whatever, and he wanted to protect his daughter?
Yeah.
I don't know, but she owns a security company. Who would you think is running security for the party? I would think it was her security company, right? At the party where everything happened. So how did the Tracksuit Mafia get in? I would assume that the security was a little lax, maybe on purpose, right? In order to steal these things. So is she the a weapons dealer or?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, right.
Maybe she's in cahoots with Kingpin.
Perhaps she's in cahoots with the Kingpin.
That would put all that together.
Armand says, I have very powerful friends. You basically don't want to mess with me, right? So who are these people's power? It's mind-boggling.
I like the Kingpin theory, because Kingpin, we know from Kingpin was somebody who ventured. He had legitimate businesses. Like he fronted by opening legitimate businesses.
Stop hitting the mic.
Damn, son.
In the Daredevil show after the battle for New York, his thing was that he wanted to protect the city, right? Maybe her business is also partly his business, right? Maybe this is how they meld these two things together. That was his whole thing. Like I want, I need to protect the city, and whoever gets hurt while I'm, making this, iron curtain around New York, doesn't matter. I'm trying to make the city better in a really terrible way, but I'm trying to make the city better. So, yeah, man.
That's interesting. I just see that happening. That's my guess.
I've heard speculation that the mother is actually Madame Mask.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
I could totally see it. Because I think her part in this show is a lot bigger than they let on.
Yeah.
And that's why they made it the mother who lives rather than the father who lives, because they want to,
Yeah, that's Marvel. But even the whole security company thing is interesting, because Kate uses that technology on her cell phone.
This
to trace Clint.
Batman technology. Remember in Batman the what's his name? The one, not the last Batman, not Affleck Batman, the one before
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale Batman. I don't be remembering people's names. Thank you for being here, Mark. He had that technology and nobody wanted him to use it because it was, too powerful and
unethical.
Yeah. And that's what Kate is using.
Whatever, yo. That's what Google uses. Morgan Freeman was mad. He was on his high horse in that movie. I'm resigning after this. I was like, whatever, yo. Just do your job. But she used that technology to trace Clint's cell phone.
Yeah.
Because of course she gave him his number, blah blah blah. So, one interesting thing, because Clint had a plan to get captured by the Tracksuit Mafia.
Yes. So
that he can get more information. Do you remember who was on the phone with his wife?
Yeah.
How she mentioned the catch and release?
Yes.
I don't know if I'll ever
we've seen Natasha do the catch and release multiple times.
I thought that was so dope.
Yeah.
Just casually talking to his wife, being like, hey babe, I'm about to do a little, mission. She's like, yo, the catch and release? Yeah, that works. Like, that was a really cool moment.
Like, one of Nat's old moves. Yeah.
One of Nat's old moves, exactly.
But I think the relationship between him and his wife is super dope, right? We don't get to see that a lot. We usually, when we have these heroes, we have them holding back from their their significant other and not telling them everything because they want to protect them or whatever. And he's just like, nah, you know everything. I'm an open book. You're actually my wife. Like,
Yeah.
Instead of like, you're property of mine that I'm not letting into everything that's going on.
Agreed.
You know, so thought that was.
I mean, the wife to me really rounds out his character.
Yeah.
His kids do it, but his wife even more so, because that makes him just a real human being. So that I definitely like that. So that's cool. So that's actually what happens. He gets captured. They have him in this warehouse. He's cracking jokes in the warehouse, which was funny. They're here getting offended.
Yeah, man. He's like, yo, this is the best you could do. He's like, what, man? Like,
property value is crazy around here.
Word, that was funny.
I
like the Tracksuit Mafia, man.
Yeah, they towed the line to me of being too goofy and then really entertaining. Like sometimes I'm just like, come on guys, and then it's like, you guys are funny. So it's in and out. It's in and out for me. Anyways, a little interrogation. He's like, can I talk to your boss? I love the can I speak to your manager? Like, just watching the whole Karen moment was just hilarious to me, just because there's white people. It's just funny. Kate busts in, and you know, in her own way, you know, and they have that little bout where they're all tied up. And you do see a gentleman who's not in a tracksuit. He's pretty much like, yo, are you the boss? Can I talk to you? You know, but at some point.
But also the young one, I can't remember what his name is, but he plays a huge part in the show, or rather in the comics. He's a character called Clown, which is basically like, you know, an analog for the Joker. Not as, you know, funny as the Joker, clearly, but anyway, we'll get to that later.
Right, I'm sure you will definitely see him again. But no, they pretty much have that little moment where they're confronting the Tracksuit Mafia. And then one of them kind of reports to someone else.
Goes into
this little back room.
Little red room.
It's red. It's definitely red. There's speakers everywhere. And he reports to his boss. We have them both. And the person, it's Echo, spoiler, who's at this point, you know, kind of hearing them. But he's mouthing the words because she's deaf. So he's like, we have them both. And she looks at him. And then he kind of says it again because he figures she didn't hear him. And she heard him. She's like, leave. You know, and you kind of see her listening to music by having her hand on speaker. And this is Echo. This is a character.
Just feeling the vibration,
who, in the comics, is Kingpin's adopted daughter, who's going to have a huge role in this series. We're going to see how much, but... It ends on her face.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Bringing her in the way that they did and having her in this red room, it reminded me of two completely separate things. It was like, is she from the red room?
Black Widow?
Is she a Black Widow? Or that you know, they said they had Black Widows all over the world and stuff. Was she a Black Widow at some point in time? We know that we're probably going to get Yelena Belova in here. So is this another one that she's supposed to save? That is a way to do it, right? Or is she in this red room because of Daredevil, right? Is this a nod to Daredevil, where we have seen Daredevil in a room where it's all red and, you know, this almost exact same shot, right? So it's one of those two.
That's interesting.
It's one of those two.
I didn't think of either of them. So that's great. I cannot wait.
Or it's both.
Echo. What? The Echo versus Daredevil fight that we're going to see. We're not going to see it now.
Not going to see that for a while.
We're not going to see it for a while.
Probably see it in her show.
We will see it, Blitz. They're going to... First, she has her own show.
Yes.
That's in the bag. We have the logo and everything.
For sure.
So we know we're going to have a series that focuses on a deaf character.
Yeah.
They're going... You know this. They're going all the way in on her being deaf.
Yeah, man.
This character, the actress, is deaf.
Is she? I didn't know that.
The actress is deaf.
Nice.
They're not going to risk having the deaf deaf population, like, you know. So
why don't you cast a deaf person for
we have we had a deaf character in the Eternals.
Yeah.
We're going to have a blind character in Daredevil. How are they going to make this work? But I do believe that they're going to fight each other.
Yeah.
And then make love.
Probably a spin-off to her show will be Daredevil. Like, we'll see Daredevil sprinkled in different places, maybe a little She-Hulk lawyery stuff, maybe a little Spider-Man, maybe, No Way Home, maybe a little Echo, and then we'll get him to have his own show or movie or whatever.
I can't wait for that.
But this show feels very grounded, like a Netflix show.
It does.
And I like that because I missed that. It definitely feels a lot different than the other Marvel shows that we've gotten thus far. Even different than Cap and Falcon and Winter Soldier, which was grounded, but also just felt different because it wasn't really like set in a city, Mm-hmm. So I like the grittiness of this. I like the no real powerness of this, but still like entrenched in all the mythology of Marvel Universe.
I agree. It was a little slow for me. I actually fell asleep the first time I watched it. Wow. I fell asleep in that. I was like, I need to watch this again just to finish watch it. Like the scene with Echo, it took me about 2 times watching it just to see that scene. So I'm not saying I'm not saying that to say I didn't like it, but it's moving. It moved a little slower than I'm really used to. So I'm hoping in the last 4 episodes that we can kind of crank it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see. He's my stage name is the Marksman. I appreciate what he does. So I definitely want to see them crank it up. I want to see my girl Florence Pugh come in. I'm more excited for the people I haven't seen yet than for even Kate Bishop's story. Like I want to see Yelena Belova. I want to see Kingpin badly. These are the people I want to see badly.
Yeah.
More than even Kate Bishop. So and Swordsman. I want to see what he kind of evolves into.
Yeah.
So that's really where I'm at. But I'm loving it so far. I want to see what Echo has to do. I want to see her fighting. That's something I'm looking forward to. So I'm unfortunately more excited for those elements than Kate Bishop, but I am excited about Haley Steinfeld killing whatever she's given because I think she's very talented.
I think these 2 episodes was a great jump off point. I would have been fine with them just giving us one, like kind of to stretch it out more. But the fact that they gave us 2 at once, I think got a lot of people hooked. You know what I'm saying? So. Because there are people that probably wouldn't have gotten hooked by 1 episode and probably would have got back into it when they could. But giving us 2, it's like okay. I have the meat of this meal now. Like now I want the other pieces. So
I'm curious to know how you guys feel about this show.
Yeah, let us know, man.
Have you been watching from WandaVision? Are you been trucking through this whole journey? I'm curious to know how the viewership is with this show in comparison to other ones.
I want to know what you think Clint's role is going to be after the series is over. Right? Is he dead? Is he alive? Is he a mentor? Is he just completely out of the game? I would think that by the end of this, he would feel like I've done all that I need to do, and I have somebody to take my place. Here's my bow and arrow.
Right.
Hasta la vista. Like
I'm hoping so. I mean, I don't know what his contract is looking like right now, but time should be dwindling for Jeremy Renner in the MCU.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. I mean, he would have deserved it at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I'm curious to know how that's going to look.
For sure.
Kate Bishop to me doesn't look like the character he can say that to.
No, not yet. For sure, not yet.
So these 4 episodes, hope we get him some serum and some trick arrows.
Yeah, by episode 4 will be like 5 years later. No.
Straight up. But the Young Avengers are I think they might be in some good hands.
Yeah, man, it's looking good. It's looking good. I'm excited to see where we end up in the next 5 years.
With the Avengers, right?
Yeah.
I guess we'll see. But yo, you know how we do. Stay tuned. Every Wednesday is when Hawkeye drops, like 3 a.m. in the Eastern time. So watch it as soon as you can, and by the weekend we're gonna give you a little update. Yo.
For sure. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Make sure to follow us on the gram, because we do sometimes just jump in and do a live there.
You never know.
You never know. And yeah, man, I think that's all we got for today.
That's all
right?
we got for today, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am LR BLITZKRIEG.
I am the MarXman.
And this has been another edition of Aiight. So
boom.